I had requested slides kind of adamantly up till the pretty much the last few days, but was denied access to a slide projector. I actually find them a lot more emotional and personal. And the neat thing about a slide projector is you can actually focus the work, unlike PowerPoint and some other programs. Now, I agree that you have to, there are certain concessions, and if you use a slide projector, you're not able to have the bad type swing in from the back or the side or up or down, but maybe it's an okay trade-off to trade that off for focus. It's a thought, and there's something nice about slides getting stuck. And the thing you really hope for is occasionally they burn up, which we won't see tonight. So, with that, let's get the first slide up here. This is, as many of you have probably guessed, is a recently emptied beer can in Portugal. This time had just arrived in Barcelona for the first time. And I thought, fly all night, and I looked up and I thought, wow, how clean. You come into this major airport and they simply have a B. I mean, how nice is that? Everything's gotten simpler in design, and here's this mega airport, and God, I took a picture. I thought, God, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen at an airport. Till a couple months later, I went back to the same airport, same plane, I think, and looked up, and it said C. And it was only then that I realized it was simply a gate that I was coming into. I'm a big believer in the emotion of design and the message that's sent before somebody begins to read, before they get the rest of the information. What is the emotional response they get to the product, to the story, to the painting, whatever it is? That area of design interests me the most, and I think this is, for me, is a real clear, very simplified version of what I'm talking about. These are a couple of garage doors painted identical, situated next to each other, and so here's the first door. You get the message. It's pretty clear. Take a look at the second door and see if there's any different message. Okay, which one would you park in front of? Same color, same message, same words. The only thing that's different is the expression that the individual door owner here put into the piece. And again, which is the psycho killer here? Yet it doesn't say that. It doesn't need to say that. I would probably park in front of the other one. I'm sure a lot of you are aware that graphic design has gotten a lot simpler in the last 5 years or so. It's gotten so simple that it's already starting to kind of come back the other way again, get a little more expressive. But I was in Milan and saw this street sign and was very happy to see that apparently this idea of minimalism has even been translated by the graffiti artists. And this graffiti artist has come along, made this sign a little bit better, and then moved on. He didn't overpower it like they have a tendency to do. This is for a book by Metropolis. I took some photos, and this is a billboard in Florida, and either they hadn't paid their rent or they didn't want to pay their rent again on the sign, and the billboard people were too cheap to tear the whole sign down, so they just tear down sections of it. And I would argue that it's possibly more effective than the original billboard in terms of getting your attention, getting you to look over that way, and hopefully you don't stop and buy those awful pecan things, Stuckies. This is from my second book. The first book is called The End of Print, and it was done along with a film working with William Burroughs. And The End of Print is now in its 5th printing. When I first contacted William Burroughs about being part of it, he said no. He said he didn't believe it was the end of print. And I said, well, that's fine. I just would love to have your input on this film and in this book. And he finally agreed to it. And at the end of the film, he says in this great voice that I can't mimic, but I'll kind of try, but not really. He says, I remember attending an exhibition called Photography, the End of Painting. And then he says, and of course it wasn't at all. So apparently when photography was perfected, there were people going around saying, that's it, you just ruined painting. People are just going to take pictures now. And of course that wasn't the case. So this is from Second Sight, a book I did on intuition. I think it's not the only ingredient in design, but possibly the most important. It's something everybody has. It's not a matter of teaching it. In fact, most of the schools tend to discount intuition as an ingredient of your working process because they can't quantify it. It's very hard to teach people the 4 steps to intuitive design, but we can teach you the 4 steps to a nice business card or newsletter. So it tends to get discounted. This is a quote from Albert Einstein, who says, the intellect has little to do on the road to discovery. There comes a leap in consciousness, call it intuition or what you will, and the solution just comes to you, and you don't know from where or why. So it's kind of like when somebody says, who did that song? And the more you try to think about it, the farther the answer gets from you, and the minute you stop thinking about it, your intuition gives you that answer, in a sense. I like this for a couple of reasons. If you've had any design courses, they would teach you can't read this. I think you eventually can, and more importantly, I think it's true. Don't mistake legibility for communication. Just because something's legible doesn't mean it communicates. More importantly, doesn't mean it communicates the right thing. So what is the message sent before somebody actually gets into the material? And I think that's sometimes an overlooked area. This is working with the Marshall McLuhan estate. I worked with his wife and son Eric, and we came up with close to 600 quotes from Marshall that are just amazing in terms of being ahead of the times, predicting so much of what has happened in the advertising, television, media world. And so this book is called Probed. It's another word for quotes. And a lot of them are have never been published before, and basically I've interpreted the different quotes. So this was the contents page. Originally, when I got done, it was 540 pages, and then the publisher, Ginkgo Press, ended up cutting it down considerably. It's just under 400 pages now, but I decided I liked this contents page. I liked the way it looked, so I kept it. It now has no relevance to the book whatsoever, but it's a nice spread, I think, in there. So a couple spreads from the book here. McLuhan says, the new media are not bridges between man and nature. They are nature. The invention of printing did away with anonymity, fostering ideas of literary fame and the habit of considering intellectual effort as private property, which had never been done before printing. When new technologies impose themselves on societies long habituated to older technologies, anxieties of all kinds result. While people are engaged in creating a totally different world, they always form vivid images of the preceding world. I hate this stuff that's hard to read.